What is up, guys? Welcome back to Once Upon a Time. Today I'm going to show you how to take an average photo into a banger. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so there's only two things that you will need. Well, three. You need a computer, you need a photo that's kind of ass, you need Lightroom, and you need Photoshop. Photoshop is optional. It just helps me out to make the photo stand out a little more. So we'll leave it at three essential things. And I'll take you through the whole thing. So let's get into it. Let's look at the photo before the editing. So this is a photo of my friend Christian. He's a fantastic model. I had this helmet that I just really wanted to shoot with. It was a vintage helmet that I found in my wife's grandmother's closet. And I thought it looked really sick, so I asked her for it. She gave it to me. When I was taking this photo, I really didn't think thoroughly because the lighting wasn't so good. It was very neutral. There's also not a lot of bounce here. You can't really see any of the model's face. I was playing around with the edits and I was like, oh, I think I can actually make a banger out of it. We're gonna put this photo into Lightroom and I'm gonna show you the steps I took to make this image. Just remember, it is not a one size fits all. This edit will only work in photos that maybe are a little darker in the shade if you want to try it out yourself. So anyways, let's get into Lightroom and put this bad boy to the test. Alright, so now we're in Lightroom here, and I have my computer here, by the way, in case you guys are wondering. So we're gonna be looking at this photo in detail. First things first is I like to get the photo as neutral in the temperature as possible, right? So I'm gonna try to get it a little bit to its correct settings, pull up that exposure, make sure I see the face there. I always try to make sure the face is visible, and add that contrast, make it look real nice and crispy. So let's do about 35 here. Then we're gonna go to the highlights, and we're gonna go down so that not everything is blown out. Shadows, let's give it some depth, some contrast. So we're gonna put the shadows down about there. We're gonna take a white, and what I like to do with the whites is bring them up, and then we're gonna take the blacks and we're gonna bring them down to around there. Now the photo doesn't look great, but you gotta trust the process. So now let's look at here. We have the face and it's not too textured, so I'm gonna pull up the texture as well as the clarity a tiny bit about there. And I don't touch dehaze. I don't like touching dehaze at all. However, I'm gonna pull up the vibrance, and this is something I do for all my photos, and pull down the saturation. This just gives it a nice little vintage effect in my opinion. So now we have a muted photo. So now what I'm going to do is make the photo, frame it correctly, something a little more editorial, if you don't mind me saying. And we're going to go in to the curves here. Now I normally do 3 dots, one on each intersection, and in this one I'm going to pull down the shadows here just to give it a little more contrast. Let's move around the middle one, see what we like, and then this one over here, something like that. And you know, just play around with it, see what you like. Then I go to the HSL. I go to saturation first, where I'm going to lift down the yellows because I don't like yellow. I think it makes the photos look a little dirty. We're going to go to the aqua, which is going to be the shirts here. Doesn't really do much. Let's actually try the blue. So let's see, that's the color down there. We're just going to desaturate it a tiny bit, and then we're going to go into the hue. In hue, the red, I want the helmet to look a little cherry. It's important that you go into your photos knowing what kind of edit you want to do to them. So we go down to a little cherry color, move the orange as well as the yellow here. That's just for the face. I want to make it a little redder, and then I'm actually going to take the blue again, and I'm going to make it a little more towards teal around there, which side looks really good. And now we have magenta. Let's see if that does anything. Not too much, so we'll just leave it there. And okay, now we're gonna go to the midtones, highlights, and shadows. And here I like to move the shadows first. This is just to give the overall vibe of the photo. So I'm gonna go a little bit towards orange here. And I usually just stick around the middle circle here, and I just move it around until I see what I like. For example, here we got green, and then I do the midtones, which I'm gonna do towards a little bit of a purple. Right around there, it looks nice and very cool. Now let's scroll that down. Sharpening, if you want to sharpen it, you can. I don't think I'm going to do the sharpening here. I like to do the sharpening in Photoshop. Unless it's an extremely blurry or noisy photo, then I can use the AI denoise. Now we're going to go down here to the calibration. This one, I'm just going to move the top one a little bit, try to get the face a little more in the purple, just make it a little redder, and that should be it for the actual colors of the photo. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually go to the masking, and I'm gonna do the background first. That selects the whole background. I want to make it darker just so that the subject stands out a little more. Contrast, let's play around with that, and then we're gonna create a new mask with a brush to go inside of the helmet. This is just for his face. We're gonna color in roughly. You can do, you know, this is a fast version of what I did, but you can go in, and then what I'm gonna do here is pull up that exposure. Not a fan. Let's pull it down. Contrast, highlights, just play around with this stuff, see what ends up making the face stand out the most. As you can see here, nothing really affects it as much. And then we're gonna go down here to the texture and clarity. I'm just gonna bump those two up, and you'll see, I mean, the difference it makes. Look at that. That's really cool, right? Sharpness, I'm gonna bring it up a little bit, and there you go. That's the base edit for this photo right here. Now what I want to do is you see all those scratches on the helmet and all that. We can retouch that in Photoshop, so that's where we'll take it next. All right, now we're in Photoshop. And what I'm gonna do here is pretty much remove all of the things that don't make the photo look great. All of these scratches down here. So what I do for that is do the healing brush here and just click around. And I'm gonna speed forward here so you can see, kind of get an idea. And you see, we just keep doing this until we get a satisfying result. You can do as much in here, like the details that you wanna do, you can do whatever you want. And then I actually don't like the branding here. So what I'm gonna do with the Fulmer, where it says Fulmer, I'm gonna use AI generative fill. I don't usually like to use AI, but it just makes life a lot easier. So for this case, we're just gonna circle around the Fulmer word and logo, generative fill, generate, and then we're gonna wait a little bit, and there you go. Pretty much a brand new image. Now what I'm gonna do is link these two together, merge them, go back out, and then we're gonna go back into cleaning up these dirty little spots. So we're just gonna keep going, clean, 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 until we get somewhere that we like. Here on the face, you can see there's a lot of these helmet scratches, which are going to be really hard to remove. So I gave up on removing them, and I just thought about using it as a storytelling device. You know, maybe this guy almost looks like he is in a race right now. So I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. The lighting looks really good on the helmet. So I'm just going to fix a little bit of the bigger problems on the outside of the helmet. And then one thing I like to do is always select the subject with just the regular lasso tool. And we're gonna go to sharpening, sharpen more, and boom, that gives us a little more sharpness there. All right guys, so that's pretty much how I took this photo into this photo. I did desaturate the photo a little bit more. I added some noise in Photoshop just to make it a little more vintage and a little more grungy, but feel free to do as you please. Like I said, half of the battle in photography is the editing. So just get in Lightroom, play around, find your style, and just know that if a photo is bad, it can more than likely be fixed by just adding black and white. You can always take a bad photo and make it mediocre, and sometimes you can take a mediocre photo and make it into a great banger. So it's all in the editing. Make sure to get in Lightroom, practice, 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 and you'll be able to make fantastic photos out of very average raw files. Also, make sure to shoot raw if I didn't say that before. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you like, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see next, and I will catch you guys on the flippity, 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 flip. Let's do it.